everyone. This is Women Talk, and on today's show, we want to unwrap the scary and dangerous world of sexual predators. I'm Deborah.
And I'm Siti Saleha, Deborah's co-host on this episode. And today in the studio, we have Dr. Hajah Azuraida Shahadan, who is a respectable life coach and trainer. And of course, joining us is a prominent crime analyst, Mr. Kamal, Affandi, Hashim. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Yeah, thank you for inviting.
Thank you. Crime analyst, that sounds very intense. Like, you must have a lot of stories.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. Because partly I kind of meet criminal more than meeting victims or things like that.
Oh,
so
interesting.
You analyze things, what they've done, and how do we avoid making others a victim. So there's a science behind it, yeah, there's an art, and I would say it's performing art as well.
Yeah, you kind of look a bit like a performing artist. Yeah. Anyway, let's get back to the topic. You know, the pandemic has been going on for a couple of years, and we do see increases in cyber crime, especially with sexual predators. It seems a bit funny to me because you would think that with the barrier, with it being online and not physical, there is that extra protection and the numbers should not be so high yet.
But unfortunately, no.
The numbers are very high, and often the victims are underage, they're minors, right?
Yep.
And why? What are your thoughts on this?
So it's very simple. You know, traditionally, how do you get a victim is that you have to go to the victim. You have to be outside there and fish for victim, if you like, canvass the areas and all that. But technology allow you to
go into their home,
be presented with random victim pools of victims that you can choose. So this is what happened. And to make matter worse, we believe that criminals are stupid in a way. Yeah, we believe they're not creative. So they are creative people, creative creatures. You stop plan A, they'll think about something plan B as long as they achieve what they want. So in this scenario of technology, it's much more easier because they have the access to most of us.
That's right. Okay, so we have received a statement from an ACP Siti Hassan, the Deputy Director of D11, the Sexual Abuse and Children Investigation Division of PDRM, regarding this matter. And this is what she has to say. Recent trends show an increase in cases of sexual offences, especially cases of rape and sexual assault that stem from browsing online games and other platforms on the internet. Although during COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, there was a slight decrease in crime statistics due to MCO, but the impact of internet use, sexual crimes involving non-physical contact such as online pornography, decimation of pornographic and sexual material, online sextortion offences and online grooming were found to have been increased, especially involving child victims.
Like, are we equipped to... Because on one hand, it's the parents and the kids being made aware, right? But then it's the law enforcement on the other side equipped to then go out there and find these bad guys lurking on the internet. Okay,
two ways of doing this. One is when someone lodges a report. The other part is that the police, I would say, that constantly monitoring all these back channel or known territory of predators. So it's not a site that you want to be, because I have a first-hand experience of seeing what they do. Yes, they do have the equipment, they do have the hardware and software. Some are being donated by the United States to be utilized for this campaign against sexual predators. So yes, they do have, but I am not at liberty to explain what are the things that they might have.
Dr. Azu, are parents really aware of cases such as cyber sexual predators? Because, you know, you see in this day and age, children are being handed their first gadgets at the age of 10, perhaps even younger, right? So do they take in consideration like the negative outlook?
Well, basically based on the research conducted by a group of Malaysians, more than 60% of Malaysian parents, we do aware of these situations that happenings and its corresponding dangers and things that happenings around us with the technology. But the thing is, like I mentioned earlier, the awareness didn't really like goes to the children. So we know about that. You know what I mean? Like we know about it, but we didn't really pass it down to the children.
The lack of information.
We give the technology, but we didn't really tell the kids about how to use that technology, the dangers behind that technologies. So the awareness, yes, I would say that it's there, but on the parent side, we have to it on the family side. So basically it's not only on the parents the family has to has that knowledge of the issues.
Do you think that sometimes people out there get a bit desensitized because we know it's, on the internet, there's strangers, someone will always try to comment, talk to you, engage with you, and you can ignore them, right? But is it a slippery slope? Because if you don't deal with this, sexual predators that are there on the edges saying hi, and it leads to grooming, I guess, but if you don't stop it at that point, it could go further and eventually lead to other things, pedophilia and actual then physical contact and trafficking and...
Yes, of course. Monsters are everywhere. The sexual predators are invisible. Yeah. Yes. But what they have their assets. What is their asset? Their asset is time. They're able to invest more time than parents, than any would-be listener to the kids. So they can spend hours daily, weekly, talking to your children, right, while you're lacking in that department. So this is where they offer themselves as substitute to the kids.
Right.
Yeah, who are able to listen, who will pretend to be friends. Yeah, at first they'll pretend to have a conversation, and it will steer into grooming and all. Yeah, but being a friend matters to children. You don't have
attention.
Yeah, you don't have the parents. Parents compensate perhaps love with gadget. Without the concept is diminished responsibility. I give you a gadget.
I've done my part.
That's it. I've done my part.
Yes.
I haven't been able to tell you the risk, the good part of it, and what you should do to control this. So, in doing so, we allow criminals to lurk in the background. Criminals are not stupid people. They're very
quite smart.
Genius,
Yes.
They have their ways of doing things. They are creative, highly capable individual. And if they were to target your children, what you can do is to minimize it by playing part in risk management.
Okay.
To avoid the risk, no gadget.
Right.
You can't do that.
Yeah, you can't do that today.
They say, nama budak sebelah pun ada,
Yeah.
So all these things, you need certain kind of control.
A little bit of discipline. All right. We'll come back after this commercial. We'll talk more about screenings for sexual predators right after this.
Welcome back to the show. We're talking about sexual predators. It's a big, scary world out there, and I don't think we can tackle it alone, right? We need to work with all the different law enforcement agencies, not just in Malaysia, because it is a borderless problem. It's not, people maybe think it's the guy down the road that's maybe trying to come after your child, but it could be someone thousands of miles away, right?
Exactly. We have no boundaries today, so to speak. I can be here in Malaysia, but my mind would be in Paris, for example. And this is what happened in the real world. Yeah, connected with someone. Say I'm in Australia, but in fact my target is in Malaysia.
Wow.
So this is one thing
it's
that
mind-boggling.
we really have to understand, comprehend the cause and effect of such things. Yeah. You know how big actually is this dark web on pornography and all that? Yeah, how big? 24 USD billion.
Oh my goodness.
GDP of this pornographic material, of this trading in dark web.
Wow.
And by the year, it just keeps on increasing.
Oh, yes. This is not me citing any numbers. These are the number published by the United Nations Office of Drug and Crime Prevention. So it must be real,
So it feels like we'll never be able to quite stop it. I mean, the more you solve one problem, you find one predator, and there's 100 out there waiting.
Maybe to enforce it, perhaps, because here the D11 Sexual Abuse and Children Investigation Division has allocated a sum of 11 million ringgit to give more enforcement towards these sexual predators, which is a good, stepping stone, right? I mean,
yes, of course.
What do you think?
We have two parts of this problem. Number one is dealing with the criminal themselves, perpetrators. We are talking about prevention, we're talking about intervention, and also rehab. On the other hand, that will be on the matters pertaining to the victim. So we have to choose either you want to go this way in punishment. Yeah.
First, you have to catch them.
Yeah, catch and punish them. Concentrate, focus on that. Or we really need to shift our attention towards the welfare of the victim.
And Dr. Hashim, on your side, how are you on the ground actually approaching this matter?
So basically, we are looking at the side of the victims and how we can help the victim themselves, because when we are referring to what Mr. Kamal had said just now, the prevention on the higher level side, without the victim themselves helping themselves, then it won't go anywhere. So basically, the victims need to help themselves and needs to, together with the authorities, to expose about the whatever experience, share the knowledge and awareness, as well as keep spreading the positive and positive thought about whatever that situations, you know. So it plays part on the victims as well.
Yeah, no, it's very true. So we were talking a little bit earlier about this issue being very borderless. It affects all of us. It doesn't respect the borders of a country. And so in order to tackle it, I think our enforcement agencies need to really work together with Interpol and all of the agencies locally. So we actually spoke with MCMC, which is the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission, and here's what they had to say on the subject.
In addressing the issue relating to cyber sexual predators, MCMC focuses on two aspects: empowering the public. Who else to take control of your lives if it's not ourselves? And who else to protect your children if it's not the parents or the guardians, right? So MCMC has launched this program called Klik Dengan Bijak in 2012, 10 years ago, that essentially to create awareness amongst the public. Be safe when you're online, ensure that the security is intact, and be responsible internet users. We share videos, articles on the do's and don'ts in the cyberspace. We also have topics that include cyber grooming. We also work together with other law enforcement agencies in other jurisdictions. The existing laws that tackle this issue are the Penal Code, right? And then for children specific, we have the Child Act 2001, and there is the Sexual Offences Against Children Act 2017, which has specific provision on child grooming and anything that relates to sexual offences against children, including child pornography. If you receive any communications, images that you find disturbing, obscene or indecent, you can actually lodge a report with us, because what you post online nowadays, there's a trend to be viral, right? So when it is out there, it's very hard for it to come down or to be deleted from the internet. For parents, be involved, be in their space, be in the children's space. They will say, "Mummy, you're invading my privacy," but if you don't do it, no one else will. So you need to be engaged with them. You need to actually talk to them, because they will not take no for an answer. They will just ask why, and you have to explain to them the dangers of being too open in the cyber world. Do learn up on parental control tools. You can download it and get it installed in the devices of children, where then you can be able to filter what they see, what they watch online, and then you can actually even filter the search words.
So I really do agree with MCMC when they talk about education being probably the most powerful tool that we can all have as individuals for ourselves, to protect ourselves, because it happens to us, but also our kids.
Lacking that sort of information, especially sex education in school, perhaps to have more of those.
Exactly. Right? And so I agree and echo Mr. Kamal's words when he was saying earlier, when we were watching the video, he's saying that we actually need to focus on reducing the victims of these situations as opposed to just always focusing on the criminals, because criminals perhaps are always going to be there, they're always going to try, as you mentioned, deception, but yeah, we need to be able to empower us, people like us, our kids, so that they know what their rights are and they know how to protect themselves moving forward.
And stop falling prey to sexual predators.
Yeah, because the internet's going to be there. We've got to use it. We can't take the phone away from our kids. We just need to empower them to make better decisions to protect themselves. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be joined by another guest sharing incredible things youth are doing in Malaysia to stamp down on sexual predatory ways. Welcome back to Women Talk, and joining us for the last segment of the show today, we have Miss Farzana Rizwan, founder of Monsters Among Us. Thank you so much for joining us. So you've started an initiative to combat child sexual abuse. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you guys are doing and how that can help parents out there?
So we are a youth-led NGO, and we've started in 2017, and our priority would be combating child sexual abuse. But the approach that we take, since we are youth-led, so we want to prioritize the involvement and the role of youth on how we can become the frontliners to protecting our children, especially in preventing child sexual abuse. And recently we launched a chatbot called Lapo Predator, and it can be found, yes, it can be found on our website and also WhatsApp. So what this chatbot does, it provides a platform for any child or any concerned individual to come to us to raise any suspicions of child sexual abuse. Over the years, what we witness is children are more than ready to protect themselves. They're more than ready to demand for justice, but a lot of surrounding factors or determining factors that brings them further away from justice. So in many of the cases, many parents themselves do not have enough capacity, knowledge to support a child who has been sexually abused. The majority of the cases that come to us will involve sexual crimes involving the use of the internet. And many of these children as well, when they use the internet, they may not know the best ways to reduce the vulnerabilities of themselves to become victims.
Most victims, I mean, they will come out and report it, right? But there are also some victims that choose to suffer in silence. What's your advice, Dr. Azu?
Okay, when we talk about choose to suffer in silence, basically I have this phrase that I use. We live life once and we have to live a happy life, right? Everyone does, right? So basically, I use the formula A to F in order to help those who live in suffering. So A, B, C, D, E, F. A is the affirmation. Keep saying to yourself that I'm strong, I'm okay, I'm happy, I can deal with this. B is be positive, be strong, be brave. For whatever that's happening, be brave. Strongly, mentally, and physically. C, communicate. You have to talk to someone. You can't really keep it to yourself. D, you have to basically dig into the problems and then talk to another person who has the same situations. E, educates. Education is very important.
Yes.
And F, focus on the good side of it.
A, B, C, D, E, F, very helpful. And I imagine for a child, you look towards that first circle of support, which is perhaps family, and then, family, maybe friends, and your schools, right? And so quickly touch on the role schools can also play in supporting children access, that form of protection.
I think it starts with knowledge on the legal provisions that can protect our children. So our children has a long list of rights, that protect them. And I think adults around them have to take the extra step to understand, okay, these are the list of rights that our children have. These are the list of legislations that can protect our children. What are the vehicles that are existing in our society that protect our children? That's the first step that any adult should take in protecting children. Second step is, as much as victims, survivors have to learn to be brave, but there's also the need for society to also build our own capacity, skills in communicating with children.
That's what you're doing right now. With your amazing
communicating with children is one
initiative.
struggle. Communicating with a child who is violated sexually is another layer that we all have to be more sensitive and more wary about.
It's not about removing the gadgets. Internet is here to stay. Gadgets are going to be with our kids. More kids are learning online today than ever before. We got to be smarter, we got to be braver, we got to keep communicating, as you say, Doctor. And Mr. Kamal, what about yourself? What would be key points for the listeners out there?
Okay, kids have been betrayed by people close to them, for example, parents and all that. They were born naive. They believe in goodness of people. But unfortunately, as adults, we fail sometimes to participate in making the world a safer place for them. So I think where we're going now, we actually need to sit down, work together with youth on how to build the future. If we can't change something which is happening today, why not for the future.
Let's start at the root.
Let's work together. Everyone is a stakeholder.
Basically, we has to know the reason behind the fact that the real reason behind the situation, which I believe that most of us, they really get the idea that there's a lot of reason, but the main reason behind it is to monitor our child's and adolescent development milestones, in which we have to know that behind our forehead here, there is a part of the brain that called prefrontal cortex. It plays an important role in decision making, controlling our emotion, as well as the consequences of the actions. So it won't be fully developed until the age of 25. So basically, before the age of 25, kids, adolescents, children, they won't make the right decisions. They have emotionally unstable. They do not know what they do. They won't have that idea. So as a parent, we all have to monitor. We all have to have this knowledge of prefrontal cortex. It's always there.
So if you are out there, if you see something, always bring it to the attention of authorities. We talked a lot about various different ways of supporting them, right? Whether it's through the legal law enforcement way or non-profits that are out there.
And creating more awareness on this.
Yeah. And don't let it slide, because I think the trauma that kids go through if they are victims is, we were saying it takes a long time to heal.
It's a never healing process. Yeah, it's lifelong. There's no deadline.
Yeah, so...
Interesting how we use the concept of whistleblower right there, not only in the organizations, right, but towards our family member and ourselves. If something happened to ourselves, we speak up.
Absolutely.
If something happened to somebody else,
do the same. Thank you so much to our guests for joining us today, and thank you for tuning in.
Thank you, and see you on the next episode.
Ladies out there, we always have a choice. We can choose to be open and out there in public, or we can choose to remain in private and be extra vigilant on what you post online, because what you post online nowadays, there's a trend to be viral, right? So when it is out there, it's very hard for it to come down or to be deleted from the internet. For parents, be involved, be in their space, be in the children's space. They will say, "Mummy, you're invading my privacy," but if you don't do it, no one else will. So you need to be engaged with them. You need to actually talk to them, because they will not take no for an answer. They will just ask why, and you have to explain to them the dangers of being too open in the cyber world.